Everybody, I can see tables are still filling up, so a quick request to everyone who's outside to come and join us inside. We're due to start in 30 seconds from now. I hope everyone had a good evening and you're feeling bright and chipper for another round of dialogue and discussion this morning. So much of what happened through the course of yesterday was surrounded around technology, debates for and against the future of fashion with regards to technology. But I think it's sort of a three-legged horse if you don't bring in the other critical element or ingredient, which is innovation. Technology without innovation is virtually impossible in any industry, really, not just for retail. So that's exactly what we're going to pick up as a point of discussion for our first conversation, let's call it that, this morning. We will start with a lead presentation, and that's going to be followed by a panel discussion. Of course, the house will be open to all of you to ask our guests some questions. So let me start introducing our long list today on the panel. We're starting off with Abhishek Pasi, COO of Exclusively, Akshay Narvedkar, who's the founder of the Bombay Shirt Company, Manjula Tiwari, CEO of Future Style Lab, Sachin Oswal of Shoppers Stop, and Vishaka Singh of redpolka.com. A request to all of you to please come and join us on stage, get yourselves seated. We will start this, like I said, with the lead presentation, and he will go on to moderate this discussion. So may I request to also join us on stage, Krishna Prasad, CEO and co-founder of Mob Merry. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to have you on stage, please.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. This is the first time Mob Merry is presenting at a stage at India Fashion Forum. It's an important event for us. Even important is to get Mob Merry in front of you with so many people. But before I get in there, what I wanted to do was, of course, I'll set the agenda of how we're going to go ahead today. I'm going to start with a general presentation, followed by a little bit about Mob Merry and what we do at Mob Merry. And then we will get to a group discussion with the ladies and gentlemen here. So I hope you have a great session, and we will allocate about 15 minutes towards the end for all questions. If you have questions, please note it down. When you have those questions, you can call out whoever you want the question to, and then we'd get you answered. So when I was looking at this presentation of looking at, what is the agenda and what we need to talk about, it said the next unicorns, and I was like, oh my God, what? This whole thing around a startup and this unicorn is almost like a thingy which puts tremendous pressure on entrepreneurs. So I'm not going to focus so much about unicorns, but I'm going to focus a lot more about what the technology, fashion, retail, and other segments of things, and what we are doing together to take this whole industry forward. So first things first, most conversations, whenever it starts with startups, get to this whole premise of online versus offline. The truth is there is no such thing as offline anymore. People are online 24/7. Remember the number of times you pick up your phone to look at things, right? You're technically online. So I think this whole premise of, is it an online business, it's an offline business, doesn't matter to anybody anymore. Furthermore, to consumers, because we need to start looking at it from a consumer's perspective and not ever from our perspective. So when you're talking about something where it's 24/7 online, you're talking about being everywhere. Being in store, being in a boutique store, being in a high street is great. It does a lot of good to the brand, but being where the consumer is even better. But what better thing to do than be available on a handheld device, on a screen near him? So being everywhere is a super important thing in today's context. Consumers today have been changing. Consumers have gone through this whole evolution of convenience. How many of us today use technologies from the palm of our hand that we never even knew or thought about we would use about a year back? Thinking about travel, all of us, most of us use Ubers, Olas, and taxi for shares of the world. You never dreamt of something like this about a year, 2 years back. Reality as consumer is getting through this process of discovering new things. He needs convenience. Convenience has become a prime driver of pretty much everything. So it's super important to be sure that whatever we do is available at a single click for him. Of course, I spoke about on-demand economy today. As we go through this premise of consumer journey, everything that a consumer needs is like now. It has to be instantly gratifying, and how do you get around that? The last point is around social love. When I say social love, it's got two contexts to it. One is social media that we talk about in great context. Of course, everything that you do need to be further shared, and how do you create the content? Creating content just is not enough and sufficient, but about saying, how do you create content that's easily shareable? If you connect this with this one-click everything, think about everything from this perspective of saying, I have something, how can I with one click send it to my friends, family, and peers? So it's about saying one part of how do you enable social. The second part of social is also about saying, how do you get those guys to co-opt and actually participate with you, or in a sense, make them marketeers or advocates of your brand? It's about saying, how do you relate to that consumer by working or touching with something that is socially relevant to that person. It could be about environment, it could be about any of the social causes. You take both of these things together and overlay it with a brand, I think we have phenomenal magic there. So what is the digital influence? There is so much talk about digital influence. I'm sure yesterday there were so many conversations that we had, and we had people talking about different things. Every single conversation, every single conference that I go to, there is this big thing about digital. Digital is this, digital is that. But just to put in context, what is digital? Digital is about influence. Digital is not necessarily about sale every time. It is never a sale every time. It is about making sure that you can be discovered digitally. Digital touch points are many. It's not just a mobile phone for a minute. There are multiple digital touch points. How can you get discovered on multiple touch points? And if you look at the slide, a lot of marketing people, a lot of people who understand the numbers would relate to this and say, what? If you're potentially talking about 25% of consumers in the future being digitally influenced, what should our story be? What is that we need to do? This is actually culled out from a slide deck from Boston Consulting Group. This is available online. If any of you want this report, I'm happy to share it with you. Of course, this PPT is going to be available to most of you who are needs. Moving to the next slide. Pictures over. Okay. So we come to this point of saying, if digital influence is big, what does it mean? It primarily, at one level, means discovery. There's an old adage I learned from one of the retailers when I was visiting stores. He said, "Jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai." It's so true. Nobody. If you talk to retailers on the ground, they understand this whole sentiment of saying you need to put stuff out there in front at the window. You need to put it in front of consumers when they're passing by the stores. Take that same analogy to the next level. How do you put it in front of a consumer where the consumer is? He's on social channels, he's on your phone, he's browsing through multiple things. How can you get there without interrupting, without disturbing, without getting into his nerves? How do you make that happen? Discovery is a super important thing. And the second part of it, we all know the influence of Google on our lives. I spent a lot of years at Microsoft running the MSN India business, and I can tell you that lots of people would go Google and then type Google. Or they would go to the browser and type Google because they wanted to go to a browser and then search for something further. So the whole premise of a consumer when he wants to find something is all turning to convenience, and the convenience is in the palm of the hand. And you go to your phone, look up for whatever you want to look for, and then you find them or you discover them. So there are two clear routes. One route is about saying, I search for something and I get there. The other route is about saying, I'm not intending to, but if there is something that's of interest and like to me, I get to see it, and that can influence my buying cycle. Discovery is super important and a productive part of the consumer journey, and we will talk about a fair bit of it in our conversations. The last point when we are actually reaching out to consumers is also about saying, you don't write reams and reams of content. You don't need to write 500 words of content. You don't need to write a long story. Consumers don't have the time. Consumers just can. To give you an insight, Google released a report about about 6 months back where they said people actually look at their phones 150 times a day. And if you actually, that's an average. Some people do more. So if you actually look at how many minutes does that 150 times looking at your phone consume, you can imagine how many times they're looking at the device and how much time they might be giving it to their device. So it's so important to be precise about what you're selling, what the key element is. So I'm a big fan of window dressing. We look at retail and we fall in love with the windows. That's what takes us into the store. Apply the same theory everywhere as retailers, as you reach out to consumers in this other world. Of course, there are technology drivers. Technology is an overwhelming thing. I met up with a lot of IT guys yesterday here. I meet with marketing guys, and marketing guys are like, oh, my IT guy will take care of it. And the IT guy is like, oh, we'll have to think about how we're going to implement it. Of course, there are challenges around this. I'm not saying there are no challenges, but the fact is, there are a whole load of companies working in this domain. There are startups by the dozen. A little bit of love from retailers towards startups would go a long way, because most startups are actually trying to create something which is of relevance to this industry. And I would actually urge every single retailer to actually go work with some startups and see how they can help you in this whole journey of taking your brand further. Because when you benefit, the startup benefits, and startup benefits, you benefit in return. At the end of it, it's consumer that both of us are chasing, and it's a lovely journey. So from a technology perspective, we've been talking about omni-channel, POS. India is pretty much like languages. We fragmented by POS terminals, by region, by location, by cities. My perception on this is somebody will come and create a unified POS, right? It will take some time. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's going to happen. One of the things that retailers can do is to start thinking and understanding about what should be the journey. How do I get there? How do I empower my own team to start thinking about it? Because omnichannel actually delivers a lot of benefits. We'll talk about it in our session later, but omnichannel is not necessarily the magic wand, but it actually delivers a lot of tools that can help you sell a lot more better. Payment methodologies. Consumers are starting to get used to different payment methods. It's not cash and card anymore. There are wallets. There are a whole lot of other guys who are trying to do a whole lot of other things. So convenience becomes a big driver. How do you enable people to check out quickly? How do you enable people to pay seamlessly? You don't need to get people to wait in a line. People can pay from where they are. How do you think about some of these opportunities and scenarios? And of course, as I said, nothing is easy, but there is somebody around the corner who's willing to help you, who's willing to work with you, who's going to tell you how to make these things done. Wearables. When wearables, Apple launched its first iWatch, you looked at the industry and you looked at a lot of people who said, this thing is not going to fly. And we looked at it in amazement and said, what a cool device, right? Two sides of the coin. One side is the retailer, for example, he said, how are you going to ever sell anything on this device? Our outside technology is saying, what a cool device it is. But the truth is actually coming from the consumer. Consumer loves it. He's wearing it. If you look at people, I was in Singapore about a month back, and one of the key things that I was trying to do was to actually look at what watch were people wearing, I stopped looking at what watch people were wearing long time back, but this time I was trying to look at, how many people are wearing a smart watch, because I operate in the zone of Bluetooth and beacons, and one of the key important things for me was to try and see, will this technology ever take off? And I can tell you that every third guy that I saw on those streets was wearing an iWatch, and it's not too far before we start seeing that happen here. Wearable technology is here to stay, if not in the form of what you wear, but in the form of many other things. But that technology is going to come into our lives, and it's going to change a lot of things. It's much better for us to start understanding and using some of those pieces before we start saying, oh my God, what is this? I don't understand anything about this. Augmented reality. Of course, a lot of vendors would have come in and showed you about how do you create a virtual ramp, how do you create, these big boxes that you wear on your faces and you look around and things like that. All these are really interesting, but the fact is they'll all get better. Everything that you're seeing today is 1.0. as you think about how technology's evolved over time, you'd actually look back and say, oh, I don't believe that it happened so fast. That's what is going to happen to most of these technologies. Technologies that don't work will automatically die and go away. But some of these things which have started coming in public domain typically and means that they're here to stay and they will only get better. They'll only get better, and there are lots of opportunities for retailers to take advantage of. And of course, the last but not least thing is about 3D printing. I've been reading a whole lot of stuff around how 3D printing can change things. And I've also been thinking about how's 3D printing going to affect, fashion business. I was reading an article that said, somebody's putting together in the UK where there's a store, you go to the store, you buy whatever you need, and then you look at accessories and you can get those accessories printed via a 3D machine and be delivered to you in about an hour's time. How cool is that? You don't store anything other than a printer. Consumer gets to choose what he wants, gets it printed, and he leaves. Of course, from fashion perspective, a lot of interesting things that are happening. A lot of fashion ramps around the world with 3D printing, clothes and other things. But 3D printing is here to stay. One thing I did talk about in the screen was about beacons. Beacons are going to potentially change the face of retail. And this has been said many times over. Beacons arrived about almost 24, 30 months back when Apple launched it. They launched it very quietly because they knew what the power of this medium was. Of course, all of us are a little worried about Bluetooth and other things. It's all become very secure now. Beacons globally will impact significantly large amount of retail conversions this year. If you want to look, don't look too far. Look at what's happening in the US. Look at what some of the major retailers are doing around beacons and how they're implementing some of those beacon technologies. We're working with a bunch of them. We're working with a bunch of brands, and we will talk about a bit about that later on in my session. But beacons are things that can do a lot of magic and wonder to some of your businesses. Coming towards the end of it, personalization plays an important part. We all know when we walk into a store, when the store manager greets you with your name and he knows what you bought last time, how cool you feel. But the reality of today's business is that the retail managers are constantly churning. There is no way you can have somebody understand and know everybody. That's why technology comes in to help. We could today precisely tell you who's the customer who's walking into your store, what's his name, what did he buy last time, what's in his wish list, and what would he like to buy based on time, date, and his social profiling. So there is a whole lot of stuff that can be done about personalization. One is about understanding the customer. The second is about delivering personalized experience for the customer. We talk about that with the Bombay Shirt Company in a little while about how you can personalize some of these really cool things. Next thing, of course, continuing with that, the purchase history, whether it's he's a customer who's going to come here and kill your time for the next 30 minutes, or is he a customer who's going to come here for the next 2 minutes, buy something at a fairly decent value and leave the store. And apart from all that, you don't need the store guy to think, remember, and tell the customer what he would like. Based on his social footprint, algorithm can pretty much tell the store or the flow manager, take these garments to this customer, he's more likely to buy it, because that is what the customer has been looking at pretty much for the longest time. To cite an example, if you go to a site, you have unfinished business. Let me take a random example. You go to Make My Trip. You don't book a ticket. You just go to look for, a flight timing, and you leave, and you go to different sites. Make My Trip is constantly chasing you, right? Make My Trip is trying to sell you that ticket to buy. In an electronic world, there is nobody in front of that, front of that screen to put that, but algorithms are making that happen. Why shouldn't that be used at retail terminals? Because we have a real person at the end of it to actually make that sale happen. So personalization is important, and a lot of these things, come together. So finally, the bottom line about everything is about consumer experiences. We know how much love and care you take when you put your store together, the kind of detailing that goes in. We've also learned, as technologists, we've learned this over time, as we go for store visits, We know why something is kept at a specific angle, why a light is in a specific way, why is a mannequin dressed in a specific way. The reality is that everything that you're doing is to optimize for a great consumer experience. When you move from your store window to multiple screens, it is again about the same customer experience. You don't like a store guy coming to you 20 times and telling you, buy this product, buy this product. You instantly leave the store. Digital is pretty much similar. You will have to reach out to the customer, talk to them about what you're talking about, and not actually irritate them. How do you bridge that line of saying, I will deliver a great consumer experience? How do you think about this whole thing? To a lot of people, I say this, that digital is nothing very different from what we do in our physical lives. It is almost similar. How do you take advantage of the challenges and tools that this medium offers you vis-a-vis the other? So this was my first part of the presentation. I'm going to quickly take the next 5 minutes and talk about the brand and the product that we're building. It's called MobMary. MobMary, in simple, is a lifestyle discovery platform for mobile consumers and offline retailers. In a sense, when consumers go on to shop today, they go to online destinations, which pretty much leaves your retail destinations in and around you out of context, which means that you get to see something online, but you don't get to see what is available at your nearest retail. So what are we solving for consumers? We're creating a personalized way for consumers to discover things that they love. So for retail merchants, there's a platform that allows for them to actually put some of their content up for people to see in their nearest vicinity. Forget about this. It's a platform for retail merchants. We're running a pilot in Bangalore now. We're running it to the high street. We got some phenomenal traction around it, and we would extend it to many other parts of Bangalore before we get to other parts. So I will quickly run a video which will end this.
The retail industry in India is $600 billion strong, and it's one of the fastest growing markets in the world. But shopping habits are changing. More customers are shopping online because of its ease and convenience. Meet Nayanika. She's noticed that the number of people walking into her boutique has dropped over the past 6 months. In the store that Pranav works at, it's the same situation. Introducing MobMary. Take your store to the right customer at the right time. We bring you the latest in hyperlocal marketing to bring your retail experience to life. Where it matters, when it matters. To know more, visit us at mobmary.com.
So thank you. That was our sales pitch before we get into this discussion here. So, we have a very interesting panel, a lot of startups that have done interesting work, of course, with some existing brands that have been in the business for long. So what we're going to do is to probably take a minute each and talk about each of your businesses, and then we'll come back to the question and answer mode. So for questions towards the end, we'll quickly finish off our conversations. And if you have questions, please stand up, tell who you are, and ask the question to the particular person. So let's start with you, madam.
I'm Manjula Tiwari, and I work with Future Group. I've just started a subsidiary company for the group. We are launching, in fact, in a few weeks, a new brand called Cover Story, which is India's first fast fashion brand, translating catwalk trends into store within 4 to 6 weeks. We have an office in London for trend spotting and capturing trends that we then globally source. The idea behind this business is speed and we are going to be distributing the brand in an omni-channel format, and that's one of the reasons I'm interested in the discussion that we're going to have soon.
Shaka.
Hi, I'm Vishakha. I run a venture called redpolka.com. It's absolutely the young one-year-old venture which curates designs in fashion and lifestyle, not from very well-known brands, but homegrown designers. People who run boutiques, women who run different kind of design setups. They might be exhibiting from several places, or they could be selling from their own online store, or they could be selling from exhibitions or some marketplaces. We have a very unique way of doing things. We come up with a fresh new edition every week, which is a curated edition. And we do, all of this is based on interest of the shopper. So we work on the interest graph of the shopper on one side and on the designer level and bring the two together.
Sachin.
Hi. Hi, I'm Sachin Oswal. I'm from Shopperstop. I head the omni-channel business. In short, omni-channel means the digital commerce business, digital being web, mobile, digital in-store, kiosk, tablets, and marketplaces. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Akshay Narvekar. I'm the founder of Bombay Shirt Company, which, as the name suggests, is in the business of making custom-made shirts. The idea is to provide fashion-forward, better-fitting clothes at the same price as you'd pay for a ready-made shirt. Over the last 3 years, we've morphed from being purely an online player to opening 2 stores within Bombay. So we consider ourselves now to be a hybrid. And going forward, the strategy is to focus on integrating the online and the offline to provide a seamless experience for customers.
I'm Abhishek. I represent exclusively.com here. Exclusively was founded as a marketplace for designer wear. We intend to build on that strength now and have it as a marketplace for premium branded fashion where people consume fashion and in the process would be happy to have them shop fashion as well. So that is what exclusively is about. Thank you.
Great. Now we move into, I want to just get some questions for these people, and then we will open up the floor. Let's start with you, Vishakha.
Yeah, all yours.
So we spoke a lot about discovery. So I see that you do stuff around curation, right? Lots of people ask us, why curation? Why is it important?
Oh, curation, because you tend to get lost. Where do you find your way? So essentially, the whole idea is that we have, like we're talking about being omni-channel presence, having several brands, several places. If you see that if you do not make the way for the shopper, how will she find you? So if I just have to draw a parallel with, say, an offline model, you would understand that if you know that any mall which is there, so say example Phoenix in Palladium, it's also all curated. It's by invitation the kind of stores that are there. And they are showcasing because you're attracting a certain set of audience. So by the way of curation, you attract a certain set of profile of shopper and you quench their need. While they may have several other needs as well, but they come to you for a specific reason, and that's why we curate.
So when you say curate, do you pick brand specific or do you go multi-brand?
No, it is multi-brand. It is all about so the way we curate is we look at the shopper and we define her not just by her age, but also by her interest graph. And we also define as per the context of the environment. So for example, if it is Valentine's Day, which is a huge marketing and shopping experience, we would come up with an edition which would be related to Valentine, not necessarily packaged like that, and all products would be curated according to that. But these products would be from several designers. Now what we do is that we bring out, the other aspect of it is we bring out certain set of designers which are not very premium, but they run boutique stuff. So they have small setups in their either homes or through online presence or through exhibitions. So we find them and then we curate. So every week, with the context and with the interest. So if working women is of interest, then we work around her interest levels and then curate accordingly.
So fundamentally, it means that you are curating around seasons and interests.
Yes.
So how do you scale this business?
How do you scale the business? Because look at the shopper side and look at the supply side. There is a huge supply. We have brands which run physical stores. So we would have a brand which would have a single standalone store, say in Bandra or in Saket. We would have a designer who would just make handmade cards sitting from home. And the scale comes in from the variety of designers that are available. Today, I mean, we just did a simple story saying that 10 stores that you could possibly buy your saris from, because sari is the most online searched fashion product, and it did phenomenally well. So if I am able to do things which would say that 10 locations that you could go and buy
Sure.
things from in Paris, or for that matter in Cusco,
Sure.
that
So how
makes
do you
a huge
make money?
difference. Oh, we started with making money. I think we are the only startup which works on a revenue model first, and because for us the business and value creation makes a huge difference. So we charge a showcase fees, flat registration fees, as well as an affiliate fee based on the transaction.
Sure. So it means that retailers out here who would want to get their products curated can reach out to you post this discussion.
So first we see at the catalog if it will fit in the brand as well as the price point as well as the design and the quality, and then we work on that.
Okay, super. So now I move to Akshay. Akshay, you know, interestingly, you started off as an online brand and then you moved offline or physical store. Why?
So you're right. So when we started off 3.5 years ago, we started off as purely online. In the kind of business that we're in, we found two impediments right away. The first is you're expecting customers to give you their measurements, and there's a certain inertia that's inbuilt with that. And it's a very touch and feel sort of product where you want to touch the fabric and see exactly what it is you're buying. So very soon we had to start opening. We started with various different offline touch points. We started with a concept that we call the traveling stylist, where someone comes over to your house and basically helps you overcome those two issues. Over time, we moved to kiosks, and now we have our full-fledged stores. We've realized that one, especially in the business that we're in, one cannot exist without the other. So digital marketing and the online presence helps drive traffic to our stores. But once they come there, get their measurements, and their profiles are saved, they go back into buying online. So it's sort of symbiotic. It can't work without each other.
So you're almost doing what Warby Parker does in the US
Exactly.
in here.
Yep.
So in a sense, your money comes from selling your shirts.
That's right. It doesn't matter what channel it's through.
Okay, great. So, one of your things is about the designer coming home, right? Is the consumer willing to pay you a premium for that?
So actually, we don't charge a premium for that at all. Our thesis is very simple. It's a ubiquitous product, and different consumers prefer to buy it in various channels. So someone who may be pressed for time would prefer to do it online. Someone who's more net savvy will do it online, whereas some people have traditionally shopped through brick and mortar all their life, and they prefer to do it that way. So given that we're a ubiquitous product, we just want to provide them with all the channels and let them pick what works for them.
And what do you have to offer this audience here other than selling your shirt?
I'm open for questions anytime you like, and yeah.
Great. So let's move to Sachin. Sachin is he's the big daddy from Shoppers Stop. I had a question for other gentlemen about saying why so late, but I'm going to ask that question to you. You've been in this business for long. You've been one of the innovators in the segment, right? Omnichannel should have been a natural extension when you looked at Flipkart's, Myntra's, and other guys going in. So what's your story now, and where are you guys at?
Sure. Can I start off by asking a question to the audience? How many of you actually understand omnichannel or really understand the scope of omnichannel? Okay, the reason to ask that question is maybe I would like to spend some time on what does omnichannel mean to us. Let me start off by my personal story.
Actually, I would flip it around
Okay.
and say, what does omnichannel mean to consumers? Because
Fantastic. Thank you. Consumer
know,
comes first.
yeah.
Let me start off by a personal story. It was my birthday yesterday, and I had a truly omnichannel birthday. So I was physically present in a particular place at a particular time, but I was handling information, messages from various kinds of mediums, be it phone calls, WhatsApp, Facebook, social media, calls, emails, everything. Very interesting insight, not relevant here, but everyone who emailed me was a bot. And everyone else preferred reaching out through the other channels. What you see here is, depending on the situation, my friends, which is some way a consumer, is using a channel to communicate a message, and that will also translate into shopping itself. So they may buy a certain thing on a particular channel, or they may be short on time, and so may want to go to online for buying, or go to the store for an elaborate shopping experience and so on. Two more insights I want to give, which will give you the perspective of omni-channel. Omni-channel is not just about shopping, okay? The technology provision in terms of devices, screens, etc., has enabled shoppers to gather information much faster than they would in a non-web world. If you were to go about 20 years back, physical catalogs existed. That was a mechanism.
Quick question, in interest of time. You're fundamentally saying everything that's in store is available on the cloud and can be accessed across devices.
Right. Initially, you would have physical catalogs. That's what's going online, giving information accessible.
Correct. From a consumer's perspective, right? I come to your store. I come to buy. How does it help me?
So, I was going to answer that before you interrupted me. Every channel has certain advantages. For example, digital channels offer the advantages of discovery, and physical channels offer the advantages of fit, trials, and so on. So consumers may self-select basis what they're trying to buy. They may want to do their research online. So today, most of the consumers actually research online before actually walking into a store to buy a particular product. And if that information from your brand is not available online, you will not turn up in the consumer's research pathways, and they may not come to your store in the first place. So,
fabulous. So discovery led to in-shop, leading to path to purchase, which basically means that there is definitiveness.
That's one of the consumer journeys. Omni-channel has more consumer journeys, like order online, pick up in store, order online, return, alter, exchange in store.
Sure. Thank you. So you also spoke about, you're going to use a lot of beacons and other things to wire up your store and create a differentiated experience. If you can quickly, in 30 seconds, tell us, what is that magic?
It's too early. Beacons help detect when a consumer walks in. I don't think the technology has evolved to a point, even globally, to be able to leverage that.
We should talk on the sidelines. So I come to Manjula. I looked up online to look for your, company. I couldn't find, and you walked in and said, Pinterest to discovery. Tell us the journey.
Well, the reason you couldn't find us is because we haven't yet launched. And as I said, in a couple of weeks, we should be going live. Interestingly, I represent a group which is very much about brick and mortar, one of the biggest retailers in India and huge brick and mortar presence. But for us, when we started this business, we actually never made sections between this is offline, this is online, and we always approach this business as being present in all the channels wherever our consumer is. And for me, it's important that the consumer discovers us. We are a new brand, and we know that if we embrace technologies, we will be able to possibly be more cost-effective, I'm hoping at least, and being able to establish a consumer engagement early on. So to me, especially in today's day and age, when you're coming up with new products, you need to have consumer insight. You need to know what their digital life is like, what is their digital journey, and try to engage consumers at that level before you activate into a more mass media and a more physical world. Taking that one step forward, I think understanding your consumer's search behavior is much easier to do that than actually doing traditional market research, because we know what in traditional market research tells you X and also can misguide you. So in a way, the search behavior gives you consumer insight, which you can actually use to create an assortment. So it's not about post making the assortment and then you start introducing customers to, "Oh, this is what I have," and talk about it. For me, what's important is, how can I understand the consumers so I create an assortment which meets the preference of my target audience. And I'm looking for technologies that will help me do that. Because I was with Jabong before. I headed fashion for the online. I understand the amount of data that is possible, but I also understand that it's not really being used. The analytics is not being used. There are no tools enough. We work with Edit and things like that. But those tools are just assortment matching, price comparison tools. They really don't go so deep into the consumer psyche. Because as a merchant, we are all merchants. We're all trying to sell something. And eventually, it's the product that has to make sense, no matter where it sells. To me, omnichannel should guide the merchants into tailoring assortments. If we can solve for that, then where the customer picks up, where they buy, it's really more operational and tactical.
Right.
That's what I feel.
Yeah. So you spoke about from the ramps of London to physical stores and at an extremely low price,
Affordable price.
Affordable price, sorry. Affordable price. So are you saying, in some senses, that Future Group, which has been fighting the online retailers all this while, going to say, I'm also going to play the game?
I'm creating a website. I will not be selling from the website, but it's more of a discovery tool. It's a tool that people will go in and consumer engagement platform. So it's not, I don't think Future, just to correct that notion, as a group, we are not against digital or digital sales. It's the business model, which is when you sell way below cost, we question that, because ultimately you are here for value creation. We have an office in London, and probably we are one of the first brands to have created a social and digital team within our group that is constantly mining information on what people are putting on Pinterest. It's not only catwalks, it's Pinterest, it's Insta. Insta is being used a lot on fashion category. So we're mining information from these categories to create our assortment. And that's a big difference, right? For me, that's more important.
Great. So we really look forward to seeing your brand in stores.
Thank you very
and
much.
online.
I'm super excited, yeah.
So I come to the, Abhishek. Abhishek has been very patiently waiting. I come to you last because you're the most expensive of the lot. $35,000 plus 30 days of delivery, no returns. How does a consumer buy?
So this is what I will actually answer it in two parts. The first part is I will answer your question more precisely, saying, see, we are very clear that any experience can be translated into an online experience through technology, right? So you try and invest in technology to the extent that it is able to replicate the experience which customer would have in store, even in an online environment. What customers are really looking for, even in an offline store, is about the product details, right? They would really like to know if this is cotton, then what kind of cotton this is, right? If this is of a certain size, then what is the fit of this size? We try and build all that into the information which the customer should be able to access online. And therefore, customers are happy to even spend on such high tickets items. Again, precision of information helps customers. If you commit 30 days, customers are okay to wait for a special thing for 30 days, but it better be 29 and not be 35 days, right? So you build technology again around ensuring technology and processes around ensuring that it is actually delivered in 30 days. It is delivered to the specifications which I mentioned, and that is how customers are happy to shop with us and have been increasing probably their buying patterns with us.
Sure. So, traditionally a buyer, if he's paying a significant amount of money, he's like, even if I'm buying a blazer, for example, I go and visit my tailor a couple of times to just make sure that, I get my right size. In some senses, you're saying customers have evolved, customers are willing to wait if there is definitiveness, if there is guarantee of the stuff that the product that you're showing and you're talking about is going to come to you, right? But actually, if you look at the online world, consumers have gotten consumed in this whole, discount business, right? So are you saying amongst all these discount buyers, there is also a segment that is willing to pay you the premium?
So the way I look at it is anyone who is consuming fashion might in part like to buy things at discount, but someone who is really a fashion consumer is not too hounded by discounts, right? How many times has it happened with all of us that we would walk in the end of season sale into a store, look at the end of season sale collection and actually end up buying a fresh piece which has no discount, right? So that is something which happens with all of us. It's happened with me many a times. Similarly, so we are actually a platform which intends people to consume fashion and in the process make a purchase. And therefore, actually I would, if I remember the number correctly, I think more than 70% of our purchase is non-discounted.
Okay, great. So when are you going to sell something that's of relevance to poor men like me?
Come again, sorry?
When are you going to sell something of relevance which is to a poor man like me who will not probably pay $30,000?
Thank you for the question, Krishna. So we are, as I tried to mention in the beginning also, we are quickly, what we are trying to do is build on the premium designer wear that we have and quickly venture into the premium branded marketplace as a marketplace for premium branded fashion. Within a week's time, we should hopefully have our app, which is our product, which will be the medium for marketing premium branded fashion. We would love to see all of premium branded fashion listed on our space and all our customers who are consumers of fashion and definitely not poor, shopping with us of the premium branded fashion.
So there you're going to compete with Future Group again?
No, we would actually love to have Future Group on us and selling their, I just saw her collection, what she was actually showing to us. It already evokes a lot of interest in my mind of how to onboard her on our platform.
Fabulous. So the last question that I have for you, Abhishek, is about saying, do you see a difference between shoppers in India and shoppers outside India?
I don't think so. There's any difference in shoppers in India or shoppers outside India. The only slighter difference which if you're hinting towards is that online as a percentage of sales is larger in some other markets in the world versus India is purely by reason of time that online has been present in India. I think shoppers even in India are as discerning, as fashion conscious like anywhere else in the world. They're increasingly adaptive, which is also evident by the fact that Facebook's largest market outside of the US is actually India. So I don't see consumers being any different either.
Facebook's largest market is outside India. The biggest mobile market is India. Everything is in here.
Right.
It's time for us to take this big advantage. Yeah. So I think now we will get to the last segment of it, which is about questions from you. So if you have a question and stand up, introduce yourself, ask who the question is for. If it's a general question, I'll pick who answers from. So, shoot.
Myself, Akash Jain. I am from Delhi. I want to ask a question to all the panel members. Can we say that in future, online shopping is going to totally replace the physical stores? Or is it only an option for the buyer to purchase online in future?
So
Any of the panel members.
Yeah, I would let Future Group and Snapdeal take that one after other.
Are you talking about 100 years down the line?
No, 20, 25
What is future? Very difficult question. Huh? If I had the answer to that, I'd be multi-times billionaire. So I think it'll stay both ways in a country like India, where you have different segments and different target groups evolving in different places in time. Yeah, I truly believe that there is a market for every price level and every delivery channel. It's about how you do justice to your consumer, how well you understand your consumer. For me, it's a channel. And even in more developed economies, what is the contribution of online?
Absolutely.
Like in the US?
In the US, you look at it, it's not beyond 10%. So physical retail, not going anywhere. We still love to go to the stores, touch and feel, buy it from the stores. But it's just about convenience in the online mode. Discovery becomes a very, very big segment in the online mode. So that's the thing, unless...
Yeah, the only thing which I would like to add to this is, see, the most successful business model in the online world is actually the marketplace model, right? What the word marketplace means is, a marketplace is something which enables offline retailers and customers who are, of course, physically present to come together through an online medium. So does any online marketplace intend to replace an offline? It does not even intend to do that. It only intends to behave as a platform for bringing the two together, actually help them grow their business, and by that help us make some money also. So I believe both will flourish together.
Next question. Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Anil. I come from Bangalore. I have a question with respect to customized fashion. It's a general question. I want to know where is the fashion industry in terms of technology related to it, and what is the strategy, what technologies are possible or available, to enable customized fashion for the consumer?
Great. I'm also from Bangalore. I will let Abhishek take the first part of it, and the second part of it will go to someone else.
Yeah, so I'll take that. In the space that we're in, there's two technologies right now that we're working with. One is on the design front. So if you walk into either of our stores, there's a 6-foot screen in the store where you can pick a fabric and design a shirt and see it change real time as you select through a multitude of options. Once you're done with that, you press a button. It's called the try-on button, where you see yourself wearing a shirt. So it takes away a lot of the imagination. It gives you a little bit more comfort in terms of what you end up buying. So that's something we've already implemented. The second thing has to do with measurements. I'm not a big believer just yet, but there are technologies, handheld technologies, scanning technologies, etc., that can scan you and take measurements of you. I don't believe it's as accurate as it could be, so we've held off on that for now.
Sure, Abhishek, do you think in the future we'd have technology that will allow me to see how do I look on a particular dress on my phone?
We're doing it right now, so you could see it right now.
Not in your store, but my home.
The same technology can be transferred to handhelds as well.
Are you working on anything of those?
We are.
Okay. Any questions more? Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure having you. And thank you, everyone.